topic for today is conditional logic. Last topic in data step. Okay, so if there's more time, I'm thinking of talking about proc means, but if we'll see how that goes. Okay, all right. So we looked into the if condition in when we were doing the in option, right? If in class, if in hobby, if in class, and if in hobby, right? So you know that if is used to subset the data, similar to where, but if and where are different, right? In they say they can be same or similar. They can be used in similar situations sometimes, but not all the time. When you're using the in clause, for example, you cannot say where in class. That won't work. In that situation, you have to use if. Okay. Whereas when you're subsetting data, um, you know, instead of saying where make origin is Europe, I might say where if origin is Europe. That might work. That'll work. Okay. The only difference is where is a preprocessor, like I said before, meaning it's going to process before the data is put into the PDV, and if is a post processor, meaning it'll only do it after the data comes into the PDV. So if you want to work on some things like first dot, last dot, there are some things in SAS where only if will work, and in is one of them. When you're doing merge, in is one of them, the Boolean operator that's only available in the PDV, so you can do it beforehand. Okay, so um, with that, I just wanted to talk about conditional logic. I don't know if you're familiar with this from other programming languages. It's to see if the condition is true, then do something. Otherwise, check if another condition is true, do something else. Otherwise, third condition, do some third thing. Otherwise, have a sweeping default option, else do this. Okay, so if none of these conditions are matched, then do this. Okay, so that's the conditional logic in SAS. Also, you have this on the if then else conditional logic. Um, so here I'm setting SAS help.cars, and cars has a column called origin, which has 3 values. I know that because I know this data set. And I'm saying if upcase of origin is Asia. Oh, so here's one more thing that you guys have probably not seen this till now. So in this data set, I have 3 output data sets. Okay, so till now you only seen one. I can have multiple output data sets in my data statement. Okay, so here I'm trying to create Asia cars, Europe cars, and America cars. So before even doing that, okay, let me just show you a simple one. Okay, anybody know what's going to happen if I run this? If I run this data step from 1 through 3, does anybody know what's going to occur? Are you guys there? Still there or no?
Yeah, we are there.
Yeah, we are there.
Okay, can you guys take any guesses what's going to happen if I run that code, class A, class B, set class?
I think it's gonna get an error because you are taking 2 input data files. When
Say
not
that
input
again.
data files, it will get an error. Like it will run only class A and leave the class B as it is.
Okay. Any other takers? Any other answers? Okay, let's run it then. Okay. Guys, please don't be shy, participate, and just if I just keep talking, you won't get it. So I appreciate, I don't know who answered, but I appreciate that. So here we go. So in this set, this is my input data set, and whatever I put in my data step over here in my data statement, that's my output data sets. So if I take this and run it like this, work.class A, 19 rows and 6 columns. Work.class B, 19 rows and 6 columns. If you go to the log, it says here 19 were read from class A, 19 was written to both of these data sets. So is there any use doing this? Probably not, like unless I'm just trying to randomly fill up my disk space or something, right? There's no use to doing this. But there are situations where you might want to say, I've read a data set and I want to split it into multiple data sets based on conditions. So in this case, I'm saying if the car came from Asia, then put it in Asia cars. If the car came from, else if the car came from Europe, put it in Europe cars. Else put it in America cars. Okay, so now using one data set SAS.cars, which I'm reading by the set statement, and using the if, else if, and else, I'm able to create 3 data sets. I don't have to do it in 3 separate data sets. See, the advantage of doing it this way versus writing 3 separate data steps is I'm only reading this once. Okay, read, write are costly operations. Okay, so um, they are costly operations in anything, and therefore also in SAS. Um, so if I were to write it, I want to be simpler. I don't want to write 3 data sets here. Okay, so I could do it like this, right? I could technically say this, and then I could simply say this. Okay, so this is one data set. If it came from Asia, do it from Asia. If it came from Europe, do it from Europe. I could write 3 separate data steps like that. But for each of these data sets, I'm going to read sashelp.cars. And sashelp.cars has 300 and some records, okay? But in your real life, you're going to be dealing with millions and probably billions of records and probably hundreds of columns. And you don't want to read the same data set multiple times if you can avoid it. So you use the if condition here, and you say, okay, if this is there, put it out there. If this is there, put it out there. If this is there, put it out there. Okay. So let's run it.
Okay, in one of your videos also you mentioned like in one video you mentioned two codes differently, but we can access the two data sets in one in the second code. Like in here you have used for the work.asia cars. Like in that code also we have that work.class A and work.class B, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Like it's in the proc frequency or proc sort, I think so.
Oh, okay. Okay. So sorry, I didn't remember if I talked about it already, but thanks for that. And
Yeah.
okay, so here you can see here it read 428 records from cars, and based on if it was Asia, Asia got 158, Europe had Europe, and blah blah blah. Okay, so it's got 3 different ones. So the idea is that if a record is evaluated and if this is true and it outputs that, it doesn't evaluate the rest of it. Okay. If this is not true, then it doesn't run the output. It goes to the next one, it evaluates that. If that's true, then it's going to output here. It doesn't evaluate the else part. If neither of these are true, then it automatically comes to else and puts this. So uh, when you're writing a conditional if clause like this, and if you're working with pharma data, I've seen this pharma data is they have so many conditions, okay, to evaluate the data. They'll have like 100 if conditions, and I'm not making this up. This is true. They'll have 100 different conditions. So imagine that your only your else is your majority of your information. Then for that data, it's going to go first if first condition not true, if second condition not true, if third condition not true, if 99th condition not true, if 100 else, go do that, right? That's a bad way of doing it. So when you are writing your if condition, it's always better to understand your data and try to catch the first, I would say understand your data. Which one has a higher frequency, highest frequency? Put that in the first if, okay? And then the second highest frequency, put that in the first else if. and so on. So in the descending order of frequencies of occurrence of the condition is how you should code. Okay. I see that a lot of people put the highest value in the else, which means it's going to evaluate all the condition before it goes to else, which means a majority of your records are going to take that path, and it's not efficient. So remember that when you're writing your if then else clause.